Yo, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Why I Left Religion with Coach Renz. I am he, I am thee, I am Renz, and we are about to get started here. Oop, just pressed that, knocked that off by accident. Yo, the thing about it, this is about to be. I'm just gonna tell you, it's gonna be a. This is a boring chapter. This is an incredibly boring chapter. Um, this chapter's boring. I'm just no other way to say it. Chapter 36, 37 in this Bible shouldn't have never been written. There's no reason to write it. They could have covered this with like one verse and would have been done with it. But they wrote it. And since they wrote it, and if we skip any chapters, I know people are going to say, well, you didn't read all of it. You skipped this, you skipped that. So therefore, we will not skip it. Difficult to make this chapter entertaining. There's a little bit of idolatry going on in this in chapter 36, 37. Just a little bit, little small things here and there. But for the most part, they could have just wrote and they built the tabernacle. That's it. Could have just wrote they built the tabernacle and it would have been done. So we're going to definitely plow through this reading of these two chapters, and then we just gonna get to some regular conversation. So if you are watching this on replay and you start getting bored, just skip to where we start talking about other stuff. What about these chapters? What about those chapters? They're boring. There's no reason for them to be in the Bible. There's no point of these two chapters at all. There's no point. It's just filler. This is filler. You ever read a book and you know that you have read a filler chapter? This is a filler chapter. These are two filler chapters because they serve no point. They do nothing. You could have these two chapters could have easily just been said. It could just easily been, and they built the tabernacle as far as the specifications that they were given by Elohim on the mountain, and that been it. That's it. We finna hear how they built it, like what they did. It's just gonna be a reattempt, right? So after we finish this today, these two chapters, I need something interesting. So maybe somebody can try to prove to me why why we should believe in this God in this book or something. I don't know. People always like, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. I can't tempt a God that is not my God. So it doesn't matter. Right. Y'all know I'm the owner of Smoking Phoenix Cigar Lounge. You ever in the Stone Mountain area, come hang out with your guy, come holler at me. So if cigars bother you, as well as my commentary, you probably should leave this channel right now. But I'm telling you, we're gonna plow through these two boring ass, no point in these two chapters being in this book, just so that nobody can come back and say, oh, you know what? I tried. Y'all supposed to been reading straight through, but you were skipping chapters and. So I bored you enough with that aspect of letting you know that you're about to be kind of freaking bored. Now, I do want to say that if this chapter begins, the first part of this chapter also, it does demonstrate how, the Bible was not written with chapter and verse. None of these scrolls were written chapter and verse. These chapter and verse things is something that man added to it. Man created, some later scribes changed. They kind of messed up this part. The first verse of 36 really should be the last verse in 35 because it just fits better. So just a little bad editing, nothing big, nothing major, just something to point out. For this don't even have a reference point, man. They could have just said, hey, and Bezalel and Alaholib, they built the shit. But let's go ahead and go through it so we can get through it and then we can get to some real conversation, right? We can get to some real conversation. I am a non-religious person, but I do believe in a higher power or an intelligent mind, not just a higher power. But it's not malevolent nor benevolent, So here we go. Yeah, we're gonna read through this. I really hope that all you people on TikTok who got something to say are still here after we finish reading these two chapters, because I'm ready today. I'm ready for the bullshit today. I'm ready. Because tomorrow I'm getting dental surgery and I ain't gonna be able to talk. So I'm ready today. I gotta get it all out today. All right. So Bezalel and Aholabib. God damn, my phone gonna start this nonsense already. And every gifted artisan in whom the Lord has put wisdom and understanding, to know how to do all manner of work for service and service of the sanctuary, shall do according to all that the Lord has commanded. You see that? If you was with us last week, you know that should have been on the other side. That should have been on the other, part of chapter 35. But notwithstanding, last week we did talk about the fact that this is one of the places where people get that understanding of, like, God gives them all their gifts. Like, you ain't work for nothing. You didn't learn a talent. You didn't go to any kind of apprenticeship and learn how to do these things. You just boom talent. But we see people still do this nonsense today, where they do that. All right, so then we continue to where the chapter should actually start. Then Moses called Bezalel and Aholabib, and every gifted artisan in whom the heart of the Lord had put wisdom, and everyone whose heart was stirred to come and do the work. And they received from Moses all the offerings which the children of Israel had brought for the work of the service of making the sanctuary. So they continued bringing to him free willing offerings of every morning. Now we know actually from the pre-reading of last week that these offerings were not freely. Yeah, they said everybody should give freely, but he commanded exactly what they should give and who should give what. Right, so it's not completely free will offerings that will be offered here. Then all the craftsmen who were doing all the work for the sanctuary came, each from the work he was doing, and they spoke to Moses, saying, "The people bring much more than enough for service of the work which the Lord had commanded us to do." Now that is something I would love to see a church do. When is enough money is enough money? When will a church say, all right, you know what, we got enough money, the church is secure, salaries are secure, we don't need, y'all are giving too much, take some of that money and pay off your bills, take some of that money and invest into your long-term future. I would love to see a church do that. You got these artisans who are saying, hey, Moses, it's enough. So Moses gave the command, and they caused it to be proclaimed throughout the camp, saying, let neither man nor woman do any more work for the offering of the sanctuary. And the people were restrained from bringing, for the materials they had was sufficient for all the work to be done. Indeed, too much. That would be an amazing thing. That would be amazing for a church to I've never heard a church say, we got enough. No more. Now, let me tell you something I have saw a church do. I've seen a church bring a person up to the front who was in distress. That person is in distress, and they ask people to give to that person. When they take the money into the back, the church start counting out the money. Once they got to a certain number, they stopped and said, well, this is enough for that person. Now, the people who had came was giving their money to that person, but the deacons in the back said, you good. We're going to keep the rest of this. You can have this part, but the church going to keep the rest of it. I have seen that with my own eyes. And then in talking about that, I've talked to other people who have experienced the exact same thing. So y'all don't always know what's going on in them back rooms. But it would be great for a church to say, hey, people, the church is good. You don't need to give anymore. But it always seems like there's a building fund, and the building never gets done. To continue, I'm trying to make something out of this stupid ass chapter. Then all the gifted artisans among them who worked on the tabernacles made 10 curtains woven in fine linen and blue, and of blue and purple and scarlet thread, and with artisan designs of cherubims they made for them. Now, this is going to be a repetitive thing that I'll say a couple times. Cherubims. I thought that they were told in the original first 10 commandments that Moses threw down and broke, do not make any images of anything in heaven or in earth. Now, people would like to hinge on the term graven to make it sound like you're worshiping the image, but it also indicates you don't make any images. This is why when you go to a Jewish tabernacle, you don't see images. This is Abraham, this is David, none of that kind of stuff. This is, what an angel is supposed to look like. These are the angels of the Lord. You don't see that in their places. But of course, Christianity is a mixture of paganism and Judaism mixed together. So, and I hate using the term paganism. It's a mixture of, indigenous religions mixed in with they stuff, with Judaism, which Judaism is a somewhat copy until they started branching into its own identity of the Babylonian, Sumerian, Kemetic religions. But anyway, but they made the cherubims. But they were just told like a few chapters ago, don't make anything. But they keep making cherubim, but they were told to make and this is the excuse. They were told to make the cherubim by God, so that means it's okay for them to make the cherubims on this for the tabernacle. All right, and we're gonna see that a couple more times about the cherubims. So I just want to give you that so that when I make a little shortcoming about it, you know what I'm talking about. The length of each curtain was 28 cubits, and the width of each curtain was 4 cubits, and the curtains were all the same size. And he coupled 5 curtains to one another, and the 5 other curtains he coupled to one another. He made loops of blue yarn and edge on the edge of the curtains of the slevage of one set. Likewise, he did on the outer edge of the other curtains on the second set. 50 loops he made on one curtain, and 50 loops he made on the edge of the curtain on the end of the second set. The loops held one curtain to another, and he made 50 clasps of gold and coupled the curtains to one another with the clasps that it might be one tabernacle. I really searched to see if these numbers made any kind of reference or anything like that. There's nothing. They just tell them how they built it. And when we've been going through this a little bit back and forth with this book of I want you to build me a tabernacle. You need some linen. You need some yarn. You need a whole bunch of gold. He made curtains of goat's hair for the tent, and over the tabernacle he made 11 curtains. The length of each curtain was 30 cubits, and the width of each curtain was 4 cubits. The 11 cubits were the same size. He coupled 5 curtains by themselves and 6 curtains by themselves. And he made 50 loops on the edge of the curtains that is outermost of the one set, and 50 loops he made on the edge of the curtains of the second set. He also made 50 bronze clasps to couple the tent together, that it might be one. Then he made the covering of the tent of ram skin dyed red, and covering of the badger skin above that. I wonder if anybody actually ever read this. Like when y'all reading about it, y'all read this, and I guarantee by the time I finish reading these 2 chapters, ain't nobody gonna remember much of this. For the tabernacle, he made boards of acacia wood standing upright. The length of each board was 10 cubits, and the width of each board a cubit and a half. And each board had 2 tenons of binding one to another. Thus he made all the boards of the tabernacle. And he made boards of the tabernacle, 20 boards of the south side, 40 sockets of the silver he made to go up the 20 boards, 2 sockets under each of the boards for the 2 tenons. And scroll down. And for the other side of the tabernacle, he made the north side, he made 20 boards, and there are 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under each of the boards. For the west side of the tabernacle, he made 6 boards. He also made 2 boards for the 2 back corners of the tabernacle, and they were coupled at the bottom and coupled together at the top of one ring. Thus he made both of them for the 2 corners. So there were 8 boards and their sockets, 16 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under each of the boards. I guarantee you've never. Oh, you've read this? Do you ever remember reading it? I ain't never. Okay, so you read it. And now I've read it because I've read this book about 50, 60 times. But I guess even better question would be, hey, you ever heard a sermon done on this? Because there's absolutely no sermon to be done on this. They built the tabernacle. There you go. Oh, we got to get into something else. So let me get through this thing. And he made the bars of acacia wood, 5 for the boards on one side of the tabernacle, 5 bars for the boards on the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards on the tabernacle on the far side, westward. And he made the middle bar to pass through the boards from one end to the other. He overlaid the boards with gold. Gotta have that gold. He made their rings of gold to be the holders of the bars and overlaid the bars with gold. And he made, let me scroll down. We almost done with this chapter, y'all. And he made the veil of blue, purple, and scarlet thread in fine woven linen. It was worked with the artisan design of cherubims. Again, let's make some items that are in heaven, that you're supposed to be in your heaven, that's supposed to be guarding the is it a cherubim or a seraphim that guards? It's supposed to be guarding Eden. I think it's a seraphim. So, but they up there in heaven, cherubims. And he made it 4 pillars of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold, with their hooks of gold, and he cast 4 sockets of silver for them. Now, you minor stipulation. This is so minor. It's not even really worth me talking about. And I'm just gonna just throw it out there and let it fly. It says that he cast 4 sockets. Casting is a little bit different than making. He was told by the instructions of this guy a chapter ago, he was told to make 4 sockets of silver for them, but he casted 4 sockets. And there's a little bit different. You got a mold, you cast it. It's a little bit different. Not a big deal. But I was like, damn, that's the only thing that's there's because these 2 chapters serve no purpose. They made the tabernacle and everything in the covenant, the Ark of the Covenant, in the way that God instructed them. Boom. Last 2 verses. This one, he also made a screen for the tabernacle door of blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine woven linen, made by a weaver, and its 5 pillars with their hooks. And he overlaid their capitals and their rings with gold, but their 5 sockets were bronze. That if anybody can tell me why that chapter is in there, you let me know. So now 37. It's about this. It's a little bit shorter. I don't know. Maybe I should read this one a little more dramatically, and it provides some value. Because if you were to cast molds, you are making them. Right. I understand. There's no big deal with that one. I just was like, these 2 chapters, man, as I was coming to these 2 chapters for this week, I was like, gosh, this is boring. So we're gonna have to hurry up and get through so we can just have general conversation. People can ask their question, we can talk about stuff, people want to debate stuff, we can do all that. But I will not let one chapter go by for however long we do this to give somebody the ability to say, oh, well, you skipped a chapter. So I had to do it. So excuse me for the boredom of these 2 chapters. How you doing, Debbie? What up, Michael, Willie, Derek? Got everybody. All right, so let's go ahead and knock out 37. Then Bazazel made the ark of acacia wood. 2.5 cubits was the length, and a cubit and a half its width, and the cubit and a half was its height. He overlaid it with pure gold inside and outside, and made the moldings of gold all around it. And he cast it for 4 rings of gold to be set in its 4 corners, 2 rings on one side and 2 rings on the other side. He made poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold. He put the poles into the rings at the sides of the ark to bear the ark. He also made the mercy seat of pure gold. 2.5 cubits was the length, and a cubit and a half was the width. He made 2 cherubims of bleeded gold. He made them to one piece at the 2 ends of the mercy seat. Remember, you're not supposed to be making stuff like this, but God told them to make it, so they made it anyway. That's the excuse, but God. 1 cherubim at one end, and the other on the other side, and the other cherubim at the other end on that side. He made the cherubim at the 2 ends of one piece with the mercy seat. The cherubim spread out their wings above and covered the mercy seat with their wings. They faced one another, and the faces of the cherubim were towards the mercy seat. Trying to make it entertaining. He made the table of acacia wood. 2 cubits was its length. A cubit is width, and a cubit is half its height. A cubit and a half its height. Its height. And he overlaid it with pure gold and made moldings of gold all around it. He also made a frame of a habreth, I don't know what that is, all around it, and made a molding of gold for the frame all around it. And he cast for it 4 rings of gold, and put rings on 4 corners that were at its 4 legs. The rings were closed to the frame as the holders of the poles to bear the table. He made the poles of acacia wood to bear the table, and overlaid them with gold. He made of pure gold the utensils which were on the table, its dishes, its cups, its bowls, its pitchers for pouring. Wow, what else do you do with pitchers other than like, pour shit? He also made the lampstand of pure gold. Of hammered work he made the lampstand. Its shaft, its branches, its bowls, its ornamental knobs, and its flowers were of the same piece. And 6 branches came out of his side, 3 branches out of the lampstand, out of the one side, and the 3 branches of the lampstand out of the other side. There were 3 bowls made like almond blossoms on one branch, with an ornamental knob and a flower, and 3 bowls made like almond blossoms on the other branch, with an ornamental knob and a flower, so that the 6 branches came out of the lampstand. And on the lampstand itself were 4 bowls made almond blossoms, each with an ornamental knob and flowers. There were knobs under the first 2 branches of the same, and knobs under the second 2 branches of the same, and a knob under the third 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches extending from it. Their knobs and their branches were one piece. All of it was one hammered piece of pure gold. And he made its 7 lamps, its wick trimmers, and its trays of pure gold. Of a talent of pure gold he made it, with all its utensils. The last 2 parts. He made the incense altar of acacia wood. Its length was a cubit, and its width was a cubit. It was square, and 2 cubits was its height. Its horns were of one piece with it, and he overlaid it with pure gold. Its tops, its sides, all around, and its horns. He also made for it a molding of pure gold all around it. He made 2 rings of gold for it under its molding, by its 2 corners on both sides, as holders of the poles with which to bear it. And he made the poles of acacia wood, and overlaid them with gold. He also made the holy anointing oil and the pure incense of sweet spices, according to the work of the perfumer. Now, those are those 2 chapters, the 36 and 37. We have never went through 2 chapters so quickly in doing this. Although I used to think that some of the other stories in the Bible were crazy, and I was like, those 2 chapters make you miss the genocides and the rape and the murdering of your own son, and the ram in the bush and all that good stuff. 2 brothers fighting, because there's no purpose for those 2 books, those 2 chapters rather. You could have easily just said, hey, and by the instructions, everything was made, everything was done according to the instructions that was given to Moses on the mountain, and you'd have been good. You didn't have to go through all of that. It made no sense. Now, this is very early for us to open the doors of the debate, of the conversation, to talk about anything, because we knocked that out in like 20 minutes or less. Normally it takes us a lot longer to go through, because there's a lot more information for us to delve into, a lot more contradictions, or a lot more things that are pulled from mistranslations, or things that are pulled from previous religions, previous mythos. So now we have a lot more time just to talk about whatever subject matter that you guys want to talk about concerning spirituality, concerning this Bible. I just see some people were saying something. I need to scroll back and see what we got. What's your beliefs? I answered that one. Hypocrite. Oh, what am I a hypocrite of, sir? You can't just make a statement like that and then not explain what you're saying, and you make no sense. Right? It was never enough. Church always trying to get more money. Mm-hmm. Mm. Now, if you're on TikTok, I need you to hit that like button a whole bunch of time. Actually, I need you guys to like and share each one of these videos. Um, but on TikTok, hit that like button a bunch of times because they always trying to go cancel my show on TikTok. They always trying to get me canceled. All right. And I hope you guys, and I know you didn't. Last week, I asked you guys to go and like the channel. Really, did you know? It's a great, just fun channel to be on. Good information about, just colloquialism, things that we do that we didn't, and you might have thought you did it for one reason, but you didn't. So really, did you know? Go like those channels on whichever program that you're on right now, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, or TikTok. And as far as my business channel, I started a new channel called In and Out to Legacy Business. Go like that, dude. So tomorrow's show, we will not be doing a show tomorrow because I'm getting dental surgery first thing in the morning. So we got to get it out today. Hopefully I'll be back Thursday. Hopefully I'll be able to talk, and Thursday we can continue with the Kabbalion as normal. Somebody had asked me, what do I believe? I don't believe much. I pretty much know things. I know that there's the closest thing to belief that I have is the intelligent mind, that the all manifested and created everything with thought. That we are all energetic vibrations. We are all vibrations of energy that has coalesced into the matter form universe. I don't. This mind is not benevolent, nor is it malevolent. It doesn't. It's not trying to get you to a heaven or a hell, right? You manifest those things on your own. So there is no heaven or hell other than the one you create and manifest for yourself. There's no worship, no service, no rituals that you're supposed to be going through, following, that you have to. I mean, I say supposed to, that you have to follow in order to elevate your consciousness. There isn't one. That is something that's purely man-made and made up by man. And the worst thing about religion, and I do want to hit this point because I was thinking about this yesterday. Yesterday I was having some existential thinking. The only reason we have religion, and I know this sounds a little bit Buddhist and definitely Marxist, because I think Marx said this, not Mark the Bible. The only reason we have religion is because people suffer. Because people suffer. And I was thinking about this because yesterday somebody, and I'm going to shoot a short video of this and post it later on, so you're going to hear this twice. They said that they don't argue with people to take them away from their spirituality or bring them to their spirituality because for some people, that's all they got. And people suffer because of the attachment. But that's all they got. That's all they have. They have their religion. So religion is there in order for people to have some type of hope through their suffering. But the problem with that idea is that you never deal with the actual root problem. You haven't never actually deal with the situation, right? Me and my lady, we was talking yesterday. We was driving. I think was that yesterday. Yeah, I think it was yesterday. No, yesterday. We was video chatting, and we was having a discussion about this other video that we saw, and we liken it into divorce, right? So when people get divorced, most of the time, if you get a divorce because somebody committed adultery, you're not getting a divorce because of the adultery. You're getting a divorce because of the root cause, either a loss of love, loss of respect, or boredom in the bedroom. Those are your root causes. The act of adultery is just a symptom. It's a result. Religion is just a result of people not being able to understand nature and science and suffering. Those are the only reasons. That's the creation of reason. That's the one. If the more and more you get rid of suffering, the more and more you understand nature, the less and less religion is required. The less and less you need a God of the gaps or anything of that nature, because you know the causation of things that happen in your life. And even if you will still have issues, you're still going to have some problems. But when you understand, which is what we're hopefully, if I can talk tomorrow, I mean not tomorrow, Thursday, I believe we go into no, we're not. We're going into the law of rhythm. But after the law of rhythm is the law of causation. When you understand what the cause is, you can understand the effect that you're experiencing. When you want to challenge and change that effect, you can go back to the root cause. Too many people are fighting the symptoms of things and trying to change the symptom instead of trying to change the causation. So therefore, religion. Why does the volcano erupt? Oh, it's a god inside the volcano, and that god is unhappy with us because we did not give him a human sacrifice. That god is unhappy because we did not observe this blessed day of that volcano god or that sun god. So therefore, that's why. An eclipse happened. The eclipse is a bad omen. Or it means that a new child is going to be born who will become king. And that king is never a queen. It's always a king, right? And that king will, usher in a new time, a new era of peace and prosperity for his people. We get that because they didn't understand that because of the position of the moon and the sun and the rotations, that every so often the moon is going to go in front of the sun and create an eclipse. And then that eclipse is only relative to the area that you're in. The whole world doesn't experience an eclipse at the exact same time. It doesn't happen, right? At least to my knowledge, I don't think there's ever been a worldwide eclipse. It seemed virtually impossible for there to be a worldwide eclipse, you know, um, except if, we was on a flat earth, there would be, but we're not going to get into that one. I hate that flat earth conversation. But there's never been a worldwide eclipse. But they didn't understand it. So they made up a religion to surround it. They made up some stories to try to explain it. And when bad things happen to people, oh, you must have sinned. You must have done this. You have a child and the child is born with issues. Oh, you must have sinned. And it was cast down from the parents down to the child. Because how can you explain a child being born with a deformity unless you create the idea of generational sin? And then you can do that. With the Hebrew Israelites, oh, we 400 years of slavery. That's why we had the transatlantic slave trade. Let's find a justification instead of just saying, hey, they had bigger guns. They couldn't feed themselves on their land, so they were into trading, and then they knew that they could take advantage of people. How about that? It's more of a simple, more of an Ackham's razor, right? That does not change. Does that change still ride? Does that change still ride the law of polarity? I'm not. Usually I can figure out even when the phone be doing what it want to do. I don't understand what you mean by does that change? Oh, does that change? The change that you make at the root still right? Yeah, it still will be the law of polarity. That's the thing. The law of polarity truly is about identifying first what are we talking about? What's the rule? What are we dealing with? Right? Like I just sent my son his budget spreadsheet for him to be able to allocate his money into the right categories and then for him to be able to manage his money. Right? I just sent him that. If he decides not to use it and then finds himself not, in financial distress, go back to the sheet, go back to the budget. The root cause is financial management. That's what we're talking about here. You're not poor. You don't attack poor. You don't attack rich. You attack financial management. You still on, and that's the pole. You know, like the sacrifice we do today, the submarine. Oh, I got a few friends, few people who come around here. Friends is very strong, but I got a few people that I talk to. They are the big time. Something happened. It's the Illuminati conspiracy. I can't say corporate espionage doesn't happen. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say corporate espionage doesn't happen, but to always make it into some type of religious sacrifice, that's where I kind of have an issue, right? Will you turn yourself up? The microphone volume is not on. I muted it. Hello? It is kind of looking a little weak there. I'll try to figure this out while I run my mouth. As far as the people on the submarine, because there was rich people on there, we have a tendency to say that they were there was a problem, that they were a sacrifice of the Illuminati or something like that nature. Of course, with that with the submersible, with that happening with the submersible, and because there was some rich people on there, I don't know if you guys know, but it was brought up. It's been brought up again about how J.P. Morgan made sure that the billionaires who was on the Titanic died, and he was supposed to be on that ship voyage, but then he canceled at the last minute, and he was on the sister ship or something like that. But that was more corporate espionage. I want to get rid of my competition because those guys were against him. So that was more corporate espionage. Was this thing corporate espionage or not? I don't know. Is that better with Vanquish? Let me know if the sound is better without this microphone. Maybe I don't see the voice meter moving, so therein lies that's a problem. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it is or isn't. Well, let me change that up. I'm more apt to say that it's not. Okay, so I'll work on this microphone later. I'm more apt to say that it's not. It's not. It's not some type of ritual sacrifice. You know, they came out. Kobe was a ritual sacrifice. You know, this person is ritual sacrifice, and some people definitely get into it. I might agree that some people have to go who's about to change a system. You know, like Prince was about to be free from his contract, and he was dogging out and telling truths about the music industry. Ritual sacrifice, no. Corporate espionage to make sure that other people don't get out of line, possibly, because humans are just that jacked up. We was having a conversation about banking in here yesterday. If a person actually opened up an Islamic bank the way an Islamic bank is supposed to operate, I'm not Islamic, but I'll put my money in there and I'll get my loans out of there. But you will so disrupt the banking system that you're gonna die. Momo said ain't nothing wrong with the Bible, y'all. Really, Momo. So you okay with genocide? You okay with that, Momo? You genocide's fine. Sexual assault, that's fine. Slavery, you're good with slavery, Momo. That's fine. Ain't nothing wrong with this book, y'all. According to Momo. That's what he got to say. Or she. I don't know. I can't tell with the picture. I think it's a dude. Yeah, it's a dude. You know, if you got something to say something. What if? What does that? I don't know what that means, Angelique. He or she sounds like a grandma. Oftentimes they do. Oftentimes people just like to jump on and say something like, "Oh, nothing's wrong with the Bible." Then you point out things like the fact that the Bible, Genesis especially, is heavily influenced, if not a full carbon copy, of the Sumerian and Babylonian stories, and they will deny it. No, it's not exactly the same. Nobody said it was exactly the same. It was saying that they borrowed a lot of information from previous cultures that they were conquered by, because they have no argument against it. What can they say? What really can they say? But you know, back to that other thing though, because unless somebody got some, one of these naysayers got something of interest of power, and you know, we got time for that nonsense. What if we dealt with the problems of humanity instead of dealing with, instead of creating false solutions, right? Most of the people who follow me are of heavy melanation. And the heavily melanated people are some of the most religious people. Why is that? And you'll always find that. You'll always find the most religious people, no matter what the religion is the people who are suffering the most. The people who find themselves to be the object of less money, less food, less housing, less entertainment value. You're going to find them to be the most religious because they're the ones who are waiting for hope the most. Most people don't understand the full context of that one scene in Color Purple when when Oprah Winfrey's character, I forgot her name that fast. Sophia. Understand, Sophia means wisdom. That name means wisdom. What was the wisdom that she brought? She came and she told her, "You told Harpo to beat me." Right? Y'all know the scene. I know y'all know the scene. Right? Celie, who was the servant mentality, slave mentality, abuse me, use me, I'm just going to do whatever you tell me to do mentality at that time frame, was telling her, it don't matter. Heaven is forever. Earth is temporary. Heaven is forever. What did Sophia, meaning wisdom, tell her? You ought to bash Mister's head in and pray for and wait for heaven later, right? It's wisdom. Solve the solution. The solution to Celie's issue was her mindset of dependence and subservience. And because she had dependence and subservience for her money, her clothing, her food, and it was all based on her stepfather at first, and then Mister, she stayed there. She stayed stuck until she solved that problem of her mind. She was able to solve the problems of her finances and everything else, and she was able to be her full self. We have to solve the problem of our oppression in this world, And this is hot on my brain because we was doing that today. Hold on, we got a few little questions here on Facebook. Let me get them before they scroll too far. I could. Quadifa was killed. Oh, Gaddafi. Is that what that's supposed to be? Gaddafi? Gaddafi is killed because he was attempting to unite African countries in one monetary system that would collapse the dollar. That is one reason why Gaddafi was killed. I've never seen his name spelled that way, so that's why I didn't quite catch it. Yes, Gaddafi had the right idea, but he was the wrong messenger, though. That's the problem. I don't think his program would have worked, but it would have been enough of a disturbance. What about the biblical evidence of the Egyptians who died in the Red Sea after the Hebrews walked on dry ground? Okay, first of all, I keep making videos about this. So my guy Aaron, that story was published by a satire website. When you go look at find that story, it's a satire website that published that story. So no chariots were found at the bottom of the Red Sea. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is that Red Sea in your English translations is a misinterpretation. It's a misinterpretation of what it is. It is not the Red Sea, it is the Sea of Reeds, is what that's supposed to say. But we are so caught up and we are accepting the Red Sea. You know, you tell a lie loud enough, long enough, it becomes the truth. But if you look at any true interpretation of it, it's the Sea of Reeds. The Sea of Reeds are farther north of the Red Sea itself. But even at that, I want you to think about something, my guy Aaron. The shortest distance between any 2 points of the Red Sea is 30 miles. And according to this story, about 2 million Hebrew people overnight walked 30 miles. Bruh, when I was stationed in Germany, I participated in the Volksmarch. It's a 100-mile march to commemorate when Patton turned on a dime and went 100 miles in 4 days. We do 25 miles in a day. We humping, we rolling, and we tired. There's no way women, children, old people, old men, old women did 30 miles over muddy, and you say dry. It wasn't dry. It was just land. But there's no way they did 30 miles overnight. This accomplished this overnight. That's what the book says. So that's an impossibility. But it's the Sea of Reeds. It's not the Red Sea. And look it up. It's a satire site that started that nonsense, and I'm amazed that people still go with it. Oh shit! I hate when I try to scroll this thing. If I miss something, it's because Facebook scroll don't act right. There's evidence of the Red Sea that the chariots of many using armies, and yeah, I just explained all of that. Yeah, Aaron, I really need to go look that up. Matter of fact, I'm tired of the bullshit on that one. I hold on for a second. I'm gonna help y'all out. We are going to solve this issue right here, right now. No chariots have ever been found at the bottom of the Red Sea. All right. So basically, on October 24th, 2014, a website, World News Daily Report, published an article reporting that chariot wheels and the bones of horsemen and men have been discovered at the bottom of the Red Sea, thereby supposedly proving archaeological proof of the biblical narrative about the escape of the Israelites from the Egyptians. According to the books of Exodus, the Red Sea party, we know that. Where's the good part? Where's the party at? But when you, however, if one is looking for news on an important scientific or historical discovery, World Daily News Report is not a place to look. WNDR is fake news site whose disclaimer notes that the site's articles are satirical in nature. They themselves, who reported it, says that their stories are satirical in nature. If you look at the bottom of their site, it says World Daily News Report is a news and political satire web publication, which may or may not use real names, often in semi-real or mostly fictitious ways. All news articles contained within worldnewsdailyreport.com are fiction and presumably fake news. Any resemblance to the truth is purely coincidental, except for all references. Oh, just skip. I hate ads. Except for all references to politicians and or celebrities, in which case they are based on real people, but still based almost entirely in fiction. In fiction. The website that started this mess tells you that is fiction. So, World Daily News Report. Go look it up, Aaron. Don't trust me. Don't believe me. Go look it up for yourself, and you will see that they are a fiction site. They're the tabloids. I don't know how old you are, but when I was growing up, I don't know if anybody else can remember. When I was growing up, you go to the grocery store, You go by the at the little newsstand right at the checkout, and what do you have? You had them tabloids, right? I used to love reading the tabloids because aliens came all the time. Every day there was an alien. You know, somebody got pregnant by an alien all the time. Right? So, but you really do yourself a disservice when you either don't read it for yourself, don't research it for yourself, and you just go off of what other people have said. It's just like no matter how many times I explain that King James is not black and how copper etching works and cross hatching works, they not listening. They're not listening at all. And I had this Red Sea thing about 11 times. Right. And then Paul makes a good point. Why did the Egyptians continue to worship? I didn't even read it all the way. I already knew what Paul was going to say. Why did the Egyptians continue to worship their own gods after being defeated by by imaginary God? Exactly. If I'm sitting here and I'm believing in, hey, I got Asar, Aset, Heru, Ra, that's my deity. But then this joker walk up and he not turn the river blood red, and turn the river into blood, not blood red, but turn it into blood. Frogs, locusts, hailstorms, the sackcloth of the sun, the moon turned blood. Man, let me tell you something. After all of that, kill my firstborn, I'm finna worship this God. Evidently, Ra, you ain't got no power. You ain't shit, Ra. Look at what you let Yahweh do. I'm getting down with you. Mm-mm. The Malawi, Africa. Oh, you're 34 from Malawi, Africa. I'm open to learn and understand that. It's why I'm watching this. I respect what you're saying and like how you spoke about the people look at the symptoms and not the root cause. Cool. Let's see if I hit this see more thing because Facebook be tripping on these scroll. I hate Facebook scroll. Root cause. You said about marriage and financial management. Don't you think that it was a miraculous act that they walked like that? Okay, but they didn't. That's the point. That's what I'm saying, my guy. They didn't walk like that. They never went across the Red Sea. They it's first it's a mistranslation. It's supposed to be Sea of Reeds, right? It's not Red Sea at all. It's Sea of Reeds. And it just didn't happen. There's absolutely zero archaeological evidence, even story evidence. The only place that is told is in the Bible. You would have think the Kemetic people would have wrote that down. The other those 300 city states that were in the Sinai area, you would have thought that they would have known. You would have thought they would have written it down. You had seafaring people who were trading with Egypt. They would have known. They would have wrote it down. The Crete. The people from the Greek islands. They were already in trade with them. The people in the Levant. Nobody else wrote this down. There's no contemporary stories about that, other than the one that the Hebrew people made up. The only other place and here's the rub. The only place that anything like that could have been made up is that you had the Hyksos people at one point migrate, who lived up in that Nile Delta, who after being defeated went over into the Sinai Peninsula. But they just went through the marshlands. They didn't, they went through the Sea of Reeds, which is where the Sea of Reeds are. It's up in that delta. You had them. You had Ramoses, who was one of the last followers of the Octane about 500 years earlier than this, who fought on a battle against Tutankhamun's forces on the Red Sea and then escaped into the Levant. That's it. You have those elements, and that's where they're pulling some of this from. But this whole splitting of the Red Sea is just Paul Bunyan. Paul Bunyan was a real dude. He was pretty big, but he was never 50 feet tall. John Herring was a strong dude, great worker, but he didn't chisel through a mountain in the afternoon. Didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? It's legendizing of a story. So this is why we get to the root of things on this channel, is because the closer we can get to the root, the better we can understand what is actually going on. This is why we understand the culture of what's going on at the time frame, so that we can know what the heck they talking about. If you don't know the author, you don't know the history of the people who wrote this stuff, then you don't know anything about what you're reading, right? You've just recontextualized it after every culture keeps changing it. It's kind of like, have you seen, okay, I know you're 34 in Malawi, you may not have seen, it's a classic movie from the 70s called Death Race 2000. People make comments based on that movie. They don't even know where it came from, but Death Race 2000. That movie came out in the 70s. Clint Eastwood. It's basically a movie where there's this annual race where they drive around the country and they kill people, and you get points based on who you kill. So if you ever hear somebody who looks at somebody run across the street and be like, oh, that's about 50 points right there. That's where it comes from. They remade the movie like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. The remake was vastly different. Same concept, but they changed a lot of the story to where they were in a prison and they was doing the death race inside of a prison, and all these other things start happening. With 50-year difference in time, the original story gets changed drastically, right? If you watch this recent Little Mermaid, there's not as much time of a difference. Oh, David Carradine, thank you. Yeah, David Carradine. There's not as much time difference in the Little Mermaid stories, but yet they still made changes to the story. The prince is now adopted. The prince daddy is dead. The prince mama black. You know, the Little Mermaid, she black. The 7 daughters, they all different races. They added new songs. They made certain changes to it. Not as many as between the Death Race movies, but they made some changes, right? Because it was Death Race 2000. Because by the time of 2000, we were supposed to be this crazy culture, right? We're talking about stories that were told for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Stories that have gaps from the original for thousands of years. The original Sumerian story told in around 9,000 to 8,000 BC. The Hebrew version of Genesis is not written until 500 BC. You're talking 7,500-year difference. That story went through change after change after change after change after change. This is why the Sumerians tell it. It's different for even in the Sumerian, they was telling the story for 3,000 years. It changed within the Sumerian version. This is why when I get into discussion with people and we talk about Enlil and Enki and Harsag and Marduk and all this sorts of thing, if I say that Marduk was warring against Enlil and Marduk built the Tower of Babel and it was a communication tower, some people are going to say it differently because it depends on what time frame you're pulling the story from. Because over 3,000 years, the story slightly changed. It's not Enlil fighting Marduk, it's Enlil fighting Enki at that point. Or it's some other version. At one point, Enlil is Ra, at another point, Enlil is Ra, another point, Marduk is Ra. You know, not Ra, Baal. You know, Enlil and Marduk switches up as who's Baal at depending upon what time frame. And then when the Akkadians get it and the Assyrians get it and the Babylonians get it, the story changes again because they change it to fit their culture. In the same way that every religion has changed to fit the culture of the time frame. Because how you're living in Malawi, if you're Christian, how you're living, is not how Christians lived and believed 700 years ago. 700 years ago in Malawi, if you were Christian and you're heavily melanated, you did not have a soul. You didn't have a soul. Thank you, Angelina, for putting the on the YouTube. She put up the 2 Facebook, the pages for Really Did You Know, the links for Really Did You Know, and for In and Out to Legacy Business. If you want to join those pages, my guy Errol, he dropping off his tides. Appreciate you, Errol. Errol be cracking me up. I gotta find out where Errol, where you at? What state and you are in? Because I plan on starting to do a lot more traveling next year. I gotta make sure I come through. Where you at? Okay, Errol, boy, he cracked me up. Been cracking me up for years. But yeah, so we got to understand. That's one thing we have to understand. These stories has vastly changed. So you have to know when you're talking about a story. People don't look past 1000 BC. And I hate using the false AD and BC narrative. I generally try to use BCE and CE. So BCE before the Common Era, CE Common Era. I sure as hell ain't using AD. Sure hell ain't using that one. I guess Momo got scared. He said it was something, ain't nothing wrong with. I guess he's like a little kid. Ain't nothing wrong with the Bible. Run home. Pittsburgh. Oh, hell no. Hell no. Errol, the sad part about Pittsburgh is that because my lady, she's a Steelers fan, at some point in time, I'm gonna be a nice guy and bless her with a trip to Pittsburgh to go to a home game. Now, she's already been before, but she ain't been with me. That'll be the one time I go to Pittsburgh, my guy. That'll be the one time. I'll let you know when it happens, but that'll be the one time. But what I was saying earlier, though, we was talking about banking yesterday. And for 15 years, I've tried to get churches, mosques, synagogues, because all I care about is that the oppressed people are stuck financially. And in order for us to, if you ever notice, people who are, the more wealthy a person is in general, the less religious they are, the less dependent on this they are. So I want to build, we're going to build our own bank. We're going to build our own, a real bank, a real one that actually works. A real one that actually works. Y'all know I got the whole unite with Africa, create our own states within the confines of America plan. If you've been around me long enough, you've heard that plan, some elements of that plan before, of how we can manifest our own destiny here in America and then connect and be trading partners with, growing African economies, sub-Saharan African economies. And we can come off and under the oppression and gain the equality that we so justly deserve. I want you guys to stay with me. That's why I want you to go and join the other page, in and out of, I'll post the videos on here, but in and out of Legacy Business, because somewhere I'm gonna open the bank. I'm gonna start the bank, because all the other things that I wanted to do, I was putting the bank last, but the bank actually has to come first. And I want you guys to be ready for that. I want you guys to be a part of that. You're gonna have to spread the message of it. We got to open up this bank. And when we open the bank, we can buy the land. When we buy the land, we can build the compounds. When we build the compounds with the businesses and the homes within them, then we can control a city, well, a town. Then after we control a town, we can control a county. Then after a county, we control more and more counties. Then we take some larger counties and cities, and then we control a state. Once we control all of those, we control every element from the governor to the mayors to the police chiefs, the superintendents. We teach our kids what our kids need to learn. We break the cycle. We control the police. The police are trained to actually serve and protect. We can have our Maccabees in the Roman Empire of America. And in doing so, we can feel safe. We can feel safe. We can feel secure. We can know that we can aspire to become whatever we desire. We can know that our sons and daughters, when they go out, that they are actually safe, that the police officer is not their enemy, that society is not their enemy, that they have a fair chance at proving how unequal they are to anyone else around them. That they can have the actual thing that the preamble of the Constitution says, the inalienable right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But it's not going to be given to us, nor will it be voted. It has to be an economic war. And that is what we will do. But I'm going to need all you guys' help. I'm going to need all you guys' help to do that. And bigger than you're going to have to help financially, of course, but bigger than your financial help, it's your spreading of the word of it, the spreading of the knowledge of it, and to get it done. I got most of the staff people. We just got to get it done. And it will get started. And Slaughter Terrence, you can't be with us. I know that sounds harsh, but you can't be with us initially. Because anybody who says they will destroy like Black Wall Street because they can't live without us, your negativity cannot be a part of it, my guy. Come on, man. This is not 1920. This is not 1920. Yes, In and Out of Legacy Business. That's a page that I created on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. If you have a defeated mentality, then you are already defeated before you try. You're already defeated before you try. And we got to stop comparing everything to Black Wall Street. Stop comparing everything to what happened in Wilmington, what happened in Rosewood, what happened here in Oscarville, Georgia, when they flooded it out. We got to stop comparing and living and hinging on like giving the government and white people that power. They do not have that power anymore. They don't have it. Yeah, I normally do it this time of the day. But they don't have that power. We got to stop giving away our power. Terrence, do you think that there's a wealthy Black neighborhood less than a quarter mile away from me? Do you think they can walk in that neighborhood with guns and burn it down? Hell no. They're going to get shot. You think they can come up to my business? This building I am is predominantly Black-owned businesses in this building. In a 60 to 40, 60% white, something burning somewhere, but it's 60% white. Oh, I know who that is, the barbecue guy. You think they can come down this street and just burn this down without my arsenal going at them? You think they're not going to get shot? You think that the lawyers that I deal with at 141 P Street, which that building housed the most powerful people in this city, in this state, that they're going to be able to just run shot over them in court? Do you think that the fact that when those things happen, Black people had no recourse of justice? They didn't have the money, nor did they have the recourse of justice. They did not have the world watching. The revolution will be televised. The revolution will be streamed. Do you think that they will be able to stop that? Hell no. Hell no. Stop giving that energy away. Stop giving that. That's right, Debbie. Stop giving that energy away to the criminals. They can't do that. Let me tell you why the KKK don't march through the Marietta City Square anymore. Because my father and his cronies got on the rooftops and shot at them motherfuckers, and they have never marched through Marietta City Square since then. And that was in the late 70s. You can't do that now. You give away your power. You give away your power. I hear people, when I talk to people about my plan, trying to get, find those who can be in the leadership, who can run with it. As soon as they start saying stuff like that, I'm like, Don, dude, you out. You out. You can come along later when the 34% joins in. But you ain't part of the first 1%. You ain't part of the leadership. You ain't part of the 5%, the 18%. I know that sounds harsh. Like, oh man, you got to be calm and cool and with everybody. No, the hell I don't. No, I don't. Because this is a Marine. But bigger than that, this is Eddie J. Ross's grandson. If you ain't down for the fight, then I'll see you later. You'll have your usage, but it was not in the beginning. It's not right now. Some people ain't gonna move until things seem safe for them to move. Some people ain't gonna join in until they seem safe. My pappy lived on the same street as Dr. King. Dr. King wanted him to march with him because of his clout in the neighborhood. But my pappy was like, nah, dude, I went to Korea. They sick a dog on me, I'm killing a dog. My Dr. King, as a good leader, based on what he wanted to do, because he wanted to be peaceful, said, you can't walk with me right now, Sam. I appreciate you. You can help us in other ways, but you can't be there. You can't be present. So he wasn't present. So my guy Terrence, not that I'm trying to kill you, not trying to like dog you out. I don't want nobody going at Terrence, saying nothing negative about Terrence, anything of that nature. But you will have to come in later, my guy, when you see that things are moving forward. Because will they try? Sure. Will they try to use eminent domain? Will they try to stop construction? Do all that? Sure, they will. Hence the lawyers. Hence these lawyers are they're experts in contract law, business contract law. They're experts they're experts in constitutional law. So we're not going for that. And today is a different time. It's a different era. You ain't flooding out of Georgia town to build your damn lake, or Alabama town to build your lake. That's not going to happen. You ain't using eminent domain to destroy a black neighborhood, a wealthy black neighborhood like they did down in Miami. That's not happening. The past is good for learning, but the past can be so damaging and get you, and you can stay stuck in it, and then you don't move forward. Black Wall Street and East Philly saw that happen. Read the FBI did to the they'll raid you and charge you with bogus crimes. Hence the lawyers, my guy. That's not the reality. It's only the reality when you give it up. And then we have a tendency to do that too. What my guy Boondocks is on here saying. One incident happened to one group of people, and that's now what's going to happen to everybody. That's now what's going to happen to everybody. If that was the case, they would have destroyed a community called Ellenwood over here in the Decatur area, which is a productive, predominantly black, high income area. They would have destroyed that. But they ain't going to destroy that. They can't. They would have destroyed it. They would have destroyed the parts of the town that I grew up where black people were making money and having their own community, but they didn't destroy it. They can't. It can't be done. For every instance where you can point out where they have done something, I can show you where they haven't. Now, are they hypocrites? Yes. Do they try? Yes. They're trying to tell Uganda and Ghana that we're going to put sanctions on you because of your LGBTQ new laws that you got out there. They ain't saying none of that to Saudi Arabia, who got worse laws. They got worse laws. They got harsher laws. Why are they not saying anything to Saudi Arabia? Because Saudi Arabia got that money. They got money. That's why. Why they didn't stop the Koreans, the Vietnamese, who is the Koreans, the Vietnamese, and the Hispanics from taking over. It's a road in Atlanta called Buford Highway. They took over this stretch of highway for like 15 miles because they got money. The Spanish people said, we're going to create our own bus system in Atlanta. And they ain't stopping because they got money. Right. America needs Saudi Arabia, so they ain't gonna say nothing to Saudi Arabia. But they ain't say, but they will bully. They will bully. I will grant you that, Boondocks. They will bully. But you know what? They got a stick. I got a stick. And it ain't always the biggest stick that wins. It's the smart stick. like you gave me this people, and I'm gonna look it up because I never heard of them before. But the thing about it is, some people look, man. I used to disseminate bad information. Um, I was in a unit that disseminated bad information. Put it that way. And you only lose when you don't know how to protect yourself. HURHUHURU. All right. So I've never heard of this. I can't even pronounce it right. This Huru. So there was obviously a raid on these Uhuru. What are these? Some people in Russia. All right. So they're not getting major movement on news. I don't see, you got a couple of YouTubers, whatever, a couple of stories here from some local channels. So this is down in Tampa. So they raided them because they suspected them to have something to do with Russia. Was working for the Russia Federal Security Service on Monday. Anti-global movement. Yeah, okay. They raided them. They're claiming they never worked for the Russians. We'll see how this pans out. But you had this organization. I don't know how big they were. You got to understand, the bigger you become, the harder it is for you to fall. It ain't the bigger they are, the harder they fall. The harder it is to fall. Just like our banks, and you got to understand that's a key element is opening a bank. See, I had it wrong. I was trying to build the community. Got to build the bank first. And the thing about black people, just the black people in America, I ain't even talking about the ones in other places. When you add them to the numbers, just the black people in America. And I don't need everybody. Don't We got to get out of the mindset that everybody got to be a part of something in order for it to be successful. No, we don't. We don't need it. Um, we don't. Understand it this way: there are 37 million black people in America who are over the age of 18. 37 million. 37 million. 1% of that is 370,000, right? 370,000. If you are a bank and you have the direct deposit of 337,000 people, and understand most of the people who would participate in something like this are going to be your middle class and upper middle class. Those are your 1% who are willing to jump in and get things done initially. That's the law of innovation of diffusion. Um, that's enough money in a bank that solidifies you as a bank that's on the rise to becoming too big to fail. Right now, as that popularity moves, it gets up to that 15, 18%. You're now looking at a number where your bank has become too big to fail. And that's just dealing with black people. Of course, you're going to have other people join this thing because the way this bank is going to function is going to be to a great benefit to the people who are involved in it. Once you become too big to fail, what they going to do? What they going to do? Nothing. And when that bank is backing these projects, what they going to do? They're going to try, but nothing. Yeah, once they see you taking over counties, they're going to try to stop you. But this is why there are a lot of other intricate details of watching and and when foul play is afoot, broadcasting the hell out of it. And we don't need Channel 5, Channel 3, Channel, we don't need Fox or ABC or NBC. The world is streamed. Our world is streamed. Say nice hat, matching boots would set it all. Appreciate that, but it's 90 something degrees. They ain't about buying no boots. But I appreciate you. All right, James. You all right? You said Big Mike talking about the same thing for creating a black bank. I have to look into that. The thing about Killer Mike, the thing that pisses me off about some of these guys when they create a bank, all they do is just create a regular bank. That's all it is, just another regular bank. When we had that, you remember when there was the 99, the 1% march or the 99% march or whatever it was, the sit-ins at these parks and stuff, and all these, they were like, go to a black bank, join a black bank. And a lot of us rushed our money over into these black banks. Well, so I was like, yeah, shit, let's go do the black bank. That's what I've been talking about anyway. But then when I went over to the black banks here in Atlanta, all of them, they had more stringent requirements than the goddamn on white banks. How are you a bank for the black people who are of the lower economic stratosphere, but you are being more restrictive than the mortgage companies and the banks as far as allowing black people to buy houses? Your restrictions are deeper. We know that buying a house, buying land, is the most common and easiest way to build generational wealth. But you're more restrictive towards the very people that you want to put money into your bank. I couldn't get a $10,000 loan from a black bank in Atlanta, but I was able to go get a $150,000 loan from a white bank in Atlanta. That was bullshit. Oh yeah, I don't need everybody. You right, Angelique. I don't need everybody. With the number of black working people in America, shit, 15%. I can change things. I would change the natural flow of life for black Americans in this country. Because after the 15% hit, and then the projects are moving forward and things are happening, I hate to call people, I mean, everybody is sheep. Everybody has the majority of their, let me rephrase it. In every of the fake races, every race has the majority of the people are sheep. They follow the leader. They're going to just fall in with whatever is common and whatever it is to do. If you had told somebody in the year 1995 that everybody's going to be walking around with a phone as big as these smartphones are, they would have told you a lie. I remember getting a smartphone. I was being picked on by everybody. Man, you got a whole big ass computer, boy. You put that computer up to your head. You got a big ass phone. Everybody I know who picked on me about that now got the same kind of phones. I got the little little iPod. Man, you don't need no dang iPod. When you carrying all that music around? And now the iPod. I got rid of the iPods, and when the smartphone was coming out, I was like, I can stream the music on this thing. Now they all doing that too. People are sheep. So once that 18% go and people start seeing that is working, the next larger groups are just going to all of a sudden just flood in, and it changes the fabric of how we exist. And see, America is stupid. America is the dumbest fucking country in the world right now, in my opinion. Let me tell you why they're dumb. Most of you know that America is trying to convince everyone that what China and Russia are doing in Africa is the wrong thing, that they don't need to be there, trying to turn everybody against China and Russia, right? Saying they're the enemy, they're taking advantage of the Africans. Well, America's been taking advantage of the Africans for freaking more than a century now. They've been keeping Africa poor for more than a century now. So who the hell are you? But what America knows that the next great wealth explosion over the next 50 years will come out of sub-Saharan Africa. They're pissed off because a lot of African nations are on the side. They're more buddied up with China and with Russia. Well, let's think about it. South Africa. Who was for apartheid and who was against apartheid? Well, Russia supported anti-apartheid. So did China. But America supported the apartheid government. So of course South Africa is more in line with Russia and China because they was there for what they needed for the current government that's in there. They supported the right team, the right side. Now America is getting mad. And they keep telling us, don't go to Africa, don't go to Africa. It's full of diseases and war and all this kind of stuff. No, it's not. But they trying to get over there. You know, during COVID, America and Europe said, Africa, you cannot produce your own COVID vaccine. China went into Africa and said, you want to bet? We'll show you how to produce your own COVID vaccines. They mad about that. Most people don't even know that America did that bullshit. America and Europe did that. Most people don't know that. But China went in. Hey, we'll show you how to make it. And here you go. We got some for you, and we'll show you how to make it. Now, if America was smart, African people they will be more willing to accept Black Americans than they are Chinese people, than they are willing to accept Chinese people. If America was smart, America would galvanize the Black and Latino and Asian communities financially and mentally, and will be galvanizing us to go over there and build the infrastructures. Us for go over there and build the hospitals and build the clinics and be the engineers and do the construction and all these sorts of things. They will be saying, hey, Black Americans, you have a kinship with these people. Y'all look similar. They'll be more willing to accept you over us. Go. We're gonna embolden you guys to go over there because fuck Black Americans, Chinese Americans, white Americans. We just Americans. And we want y'all to go over there so that America receives the benefit of the new growth that's going to happen in Africa. America's stupid. It's still so hung up on race and maintaining power over the people that they oppress that they can't see that the very people that they oppress, that they equalize them and then send them over there, mobilize them after they equalize them, send them over there and handle it. America will receive the greater benefit. But they too blind to see that. So I say, fuck them. We'll do it without them. Because they too racist to understand that. Too racist to understand it. And too fearful of giving up their power. Which they will still actually have the higher level of power. They will still have the higher level of power. They will still have the most money. They will still be in the driver's seat. It's just that we go from the trunk to the goddamn back seat or the side seat or the passenger seat. It's too stupid to realize it. Too dumb. And if Black Americans were mobilized and emboldened like that, Black Americans will become even more loyal citizens of this country. They don't recognize that. Mobilize the Latin community to go into the growing nations in Central and South America. Mobilize the Chinese and the Vietnamese to go and grow the Asian community. America has the diversity to go and actually become the ultimate financial supreme giant in the world that nobody can touch. But they are steadily letting China and Russia grow in the places that's going to become dominant. And they're losing. Why? Because of racism. America's stupid. And I will play on their stupidity. And we will do it for ourselves. Mexicans and Indians people got it right. They think we should have start living like the past when multiple people lived under one roof, like in Big Mama's house, but we can't get along. And that would be beneficial to us. We all got to have our own house. I mean, hell, y'all know I believe in polygamy, so I think we all should be, even if it's not a polygamous situation, a couple of families get together, you'll save money, you can build easier. The more checks coming under one roof, the more you can build. The more checks, the more you can build. You got the financial acuity to do it, you can build it. Well, you're struggling with yours, don't worry about your family. Find some friends. Sometimes your family, blood ain't got shit to do with family, my guy. My family loves me, but they know that about me. Blood ain't got shit to do with family. It's the relationship that we build. That's the only thing that has something to do with it. But I've been trying to get other people who are much further along financially than I am to do this thing because I want to see it done quickly. And I know that in one generation, we can change the landscape. Just one generation. It doesn't take like 100 years. One generation. One generation. All them 1, 2, 3-year-olds who are alive today, um, they have the opportunity that they can grow up in a community where they are not afraid of the police. They are not taught bullshit. That they actually are learned. They're taught trades. They're taught economics. Hold the whole STEMs programs. They're really taught that. They're taught true history, and I mean true history, good or bad for the people that look like you. They learn the effed up things that people who look like them did. They learn the effed up things that people who didn't look like them did. They learn the great things that people who look like them did. They learn the great things that people who don't look like them did. They learn just history, pure and simple. Pure and simple. It ain't all about the Western empires. What about the Mali empires, the Songhai, the Ashanti, the Mongols? They learn about everybody. The Polynesians learn about everybody, and they understand business economics and world economics. And most importantly, they learn personal economics. And they're not afraid to leave this country. They're not afraid to go places. One generation, and everything changes. That's it. And a generation is only 40 years. That's all it would take. But I was trying to get other people to do it. But I realized nobody can push your vision like yourself. So that's why I'm gonna have to do it. I didn't want to do it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't want to do it. I wanted to be the guy behind everybody. Like, hey man, yeah, here's the plan. And here's some other people who are gonna make the plan even better. But here's the plan. Because I didn't want to be in that limelight. I didn't want to be in that limelight. But oh well, it is what it is. I got kids, and one day I might have grandkids, and this shit got to change. It has to change, one way or another. So, all y'all who are saying stuff right now, all right, Terrence, you saying we got to learn to swim? When this paperwork is finished to set up the trust, so that so in order to start a bank, depending upon where it started, there's a certain amount of money that you're going to need in order to get a bank charter, get a bank license, and we need a license, not a B license, and not a credit union. There's too many restrictions on a credit union. But to get that bank charter, initially not in America, more than likely in the Grand Caymans or in the Bahamas or Puerto Rico. Even though Puerto Rico is America, but it's a territory, so you still have certain. It's a little bit different. Once this bank charter is established, but it's going to take a certain amount of money to get it established. Then once it's established, then I have a whole process of attracting Black people, and some white people going to be attracted, some Asian people, a bunch of people going to be attracted to it. But I have a methodology to attract people to it, to quickly increase the asset holdings and the reserve holdings of this bank into the billions very quickly within 2 years. Within 2 years, the asset holdings will be at least $1 billion. To have asset holdings of at least $1 billion, you too big to fail. You too big to fail. But the way we're going to take care of the people, though, the ability for people to buy homes is going to be made much easier and 100% guaranteed. The ability for them to keep their homes if they go through a bad time is going to be much easier for them. The ability for them to, the financial literacy program is astounding. And then we build our communities. That bank loans out the money to the secondary company to go and start building these communities that are self-sustained, self-supporting. And we build enough of those to take over a community, another take over a county, and then take over more and more counties, which will attract more and more Black people to come to that area, to the cities, to the state. We take over these states, and now we run the politics of that state. Did you hear the Haitian people let investors come in and take billions in gold deposits and receive 200 million? I did see some of that. I didn't see the whole thing of that, but I did see they let them come in there and do that. And that was messed up. But I got a plan for Haiti. Part of that plan involves Haiti. I got a plan for Haiti. You know, I got a plan for Haiti, Jamaica. You know, so I got that part of my plan extends. It's a global plan. You know, it goes into the global framework. But I do like the fact that Haiti is telling France we want our goddamn money back. You know, as a nation that won its true independence, they should have never had to pay reparations to France. Yeah. The bank could be open to the public. And trust me, there's a whole bunch of poor white people gonna want to be a part of that bank, or poor, low income. Because I shouldn't use poor, but low income, low middle income, whatever that term is, when you're middle income but you're low on the middle income stage. Middle income people, they're gonna really want to be a part of this bank. And those who got money gonna want to be a part of this bank too, because there are some aspects of a Muslim style bank that no Muslim bank, that doesn't exist in a large degree. There's a variation of it that the Ethiopian banks utilize. There's a variation of that they utilize, and some elements of that will be part of this banking system. But it's not enough to upset the banking industry. And that's what you can't do. You can't upset the banking industry. I know people like to call for stuff like that, but the moment you upset the banking industry, that's when one or two things happen. They either crush you or they kill you. I'm not foolish enough not to believe that there are limits that you can, because the biggest God is money. Both internet and brick and mortar. It initially be a brick and mortar in the native country that the bank is first chartered in, but you'll initially have to utilize it like an internet bank, because there won't be a local branch that you can go to. But if you use people don't really use ATMs no more, but if you use an ATM, then your bank, the fees that you paid on the ATM will be put back into your account. So you won't be paying that $3-4 for ATM usage. But then as the bank grows, the larger centers will start to have brick and mortar banks that people can actually walk into. Well, the shares will be very much limited, and it's not about being outside. People ain't gonna be able to. Okay, it's gonna be a very tight group of shareholders, very tight, very, very, very tight. Even those people, so when I set up everything, and I set up where let's say I asked for, in order for us to get started, hey, I need you guys to go ahead, put at least $10 into this fund. And you may put 10, 20, 30, you may put $10 every month, or whatever you decide to do. Whatever monies you put into it, once the bank is opened, you will automatically have an account with that exact same amount of money that you put into it in there. So you're not losing anything ever. You just one of the first accounts that will be formed in the bank. So you never lose any money. But once all of that, but those, what I'm, as far as shares, just because you do that, you won't own shares in the bank, because that opens the door for outside people to gain control of it. You won't own shares. Only the original shareholders will own shares in it. That way we can control the policy. It's not about trying to make me or any of the original shareholders rich. It's about control and maintaining the vision. That's all it's about, control and maintaining the vision. But your benefit will greatly outweigh anything anyone should feel about the group of people who own it. Because some of those people who will have shares, I'm gonna have to pay them large ass salaries, because in order to get them to leave the banks that they're currently with, I can't ask a guy who's making 250,000 a year, hey man, come join this bank, but I can only pay you 50, and I need you to move to the Grand Caymans or to the Bahamas or Puerto Rico. They not gonna do that. They gonna have to get that bump in salary and those shares in order for them to do it, because everybody involved has got to be something in it for them. So I got to pay them. Got to pay them equitable salaries. But if I'm telling you that within a year of completing a few things, you complete this item and then demonstrate that you've learned from it, this financial literacy, and you've demonstrated it, or if you're already in position, that we're going to 100% after a year, after a year of opening, we're going to 100% guarantee you the financing of a house. Yeah, and we don't care about redlining. Redlining is not, when people say racism doesn't exist, show me the oppression. Redlining, motherfucker. Real quite easy, real quick and easy. Redlining. That's the symptom right there. That's systematic racism. Um, but we're not going to care about redlining, because part of it is so like there's a community not too far away from where one of my popcorn shops used to be, called Lithonia. When you go to Lithonia, most of those houses, that's a redlined area, right? It's very difficult in most of those areas to buy a house that has a government-backed loan. So those homes are owned by non-black people, and damn near 90% of those homes are rented to the people who actually live there. No. There will be a target for communities like that, for those people to be able to buy those houses, because the difference between rent. I've been a landlord before. There's a difference between owners of a house and renters of a house. When you own a house, 9 times out of 10, you're going to treat the community, the house, a hell of a lot different. And if they've done this through this bank, they would have gained the financial literacy of building wealth. So the importance of maintaining their home, their property, will drastically increase. So that's something that, that's a part of it. And as we change those neighborhoods, then as we change those neighborhoods, it changes the mindset of the people. And then when we change the mindset of those people, because now they're taxpayers and they're paying for we can change the mindset of how they deal with the superintendents, the teachers, all of those sorts of things as well. The community outreach portion of this is tremendous as well. So I understand what you're saying about Gary, Indiana. It's funny you mentioned Gary, Indiana. I was talking to my brother about that place because he goes up to Gary quite often. Um, Gary, Indiana plays a part in something like that, but it's, how can I say it? It doesn't work well with my ultimate plan. And here, and maybe this is the part that I should. It's your hometown. Yeah, actually, my brother's brother-in-law wants me to open a cigar lounge up there. But here's the thing. This is what part of the plan that I need you to understand. Um, there, like I said, there's 47 million black people in America. 20% are in Texas. I think it's like, no, it's like 23, 27, like 27%. Okay. The majority of black people in America live in Texas, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, and Virginia. That's the majority of us. We live there. We live in those states. Um, Places like New York has like only have like three, like 3 million. Mississippi only had like 3 million. Alabama got like 3 4 million. But most of us live in the South. It would be easier for us to take over a state in the South than it would be for us to build in little shots. Oh, we building in Detroit, we're building in Gary, we're doing this over here, and we spreading ourselves thin. We spread thin right now. Right? Part of my goal is to get the overwhelming majority, to get about 76% of black people in America to move into um, a certain portion, the eastern part of East Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina. I want us concentrated in that area, in those states. If we were all concentrated in those states, spread out to a certain number, we can control the state. Think about it like this: if there's three, it's like 3.6 million people, black people. I mean, 3.6 million people in Mississippi. I think it's something like 43% of that is black. If you added 1.5 million black people to Mississippi, you can outvote and become the governor, the senator, the congressman at the federal level and the state level. You can outvote in most of the counties and cities in Mississippi. You can now foster the change that you desire to change in Mississippi. With just 1.5, maybe 2 million black people move to Mississippi. So the reason why I would focus on a place like that before Gary, Indiana, is because we don't need as many people to control it, and we can become contiguous. We can be East Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, North, South Carolina, Florida, to control those states. Now, Florida is going to be a little bit more difficult. It's 21 million people in Florida. It's a lot. You got to put more people there, and it's not as much land. Georgia is 10 million. Virginia is 8 million. North Carolina is 10 million. South Carolina is like 6 million. You see what I'm saying? So, and I think Alabama is somewhere like that, 4 or 5 million. That's why the focus will be in the South. We're already here. I get my plan together, you'll be moving to the South sooner than 10 years. Because the level of development that will happen, the level of higher education and tradesmanship would be so drastic and increase the value of the people and the land and industry that it's kind of like Atlanta. Freaknik happened. Whole bunch of jokers stayed down here. Olympics happened. Y'all didn't know how to go home. And it's so many black people moved down here, especially after the Olympics. And they still coming because of the opportunities that are presented. So we're just going to present that same thing. It's just that instead of just a free for all, it will be a controlled move. These things will be done on purpose to attract Black people to the South. And when we control the entire South, a legal secession can happen. If you understand what I'm saying. Now, that might cause a war. But a legal secession can happen. But imagine if we control the entire state of Georgia. As a state, we can set up diplomatic relationships with places like Senegal, Ghana, Mali, Ivory Coast, Togo, Benin, Nigeria. You know, why not allow, since Nigeria just opened up its oil refinery, the first oil refinery in Africa at that, so they just opened up their oil refinery. Why couldn't we, as on controlling the state of Georgia, set up diplomatic relationships with Nigeria to import their oil into the state of Georgia and be the biggest purchaser of their oil? You see what I'm saying? Why can't we also be exporting? Nigeria has one of the largest economies in Africa, with like 400 million people in Nigeria. We would be establishing companies in Georgia that will primarily export their products out to Nigeria. That's a huge market. Huge market. That's what I was saying when, I don't know if you guys were listening, were on here at the time when Kanye came out and said what he said, and he lost all those things from Nike, from Adidas, and whoever else, whoever he lost his money from, his contracts from. I was saying that if he was smart, he wouldn't be so focused on the American economy, but I would have created products that I was primarily focused on selling in Nigeria. You got 400 million people. 400 million people. These current Black billionaires are puppets, and I ain't worried about them. But just like the civil rights movement, if you study this aspect of the civil rights movement, it started out with regular people. It was regular people who started it. The singers and actors and athletes and all of them, they didn't come along until they felt like it was safe, until it became more of a social movement. That's when they came along. I'm not worried about LeBrons and Oprahs and all these people. They'll come along later when they see it's safe, when they know they can still get their NBA money, they, whatever, however they making their money, they'll come along then. And when they do, I'll use them up. I will use the hell out their asses. I will welcome them in, but they will never become the leaders, ever. That is part of our problem now. Our leadership is freaking entertainers. The Socialist Party in North Dakota got banking right. They started in 1919 and was unaffected by 2008 financial crash. They actually did what you're proposing. Oh, I didn't know that, but I'm gonna go research it. See, that's why I like y'all. I don't claim to have all the answers, but I know how to go find answers, and people often bring me answers because I will. If what Boondocks is saying, I'll go research that, and if there's elements of that we can pull and use, we'll pull it and use it, because that's how we build things and make it great, and that's how we get our people often under this oppression. That's how we get our people often under this oppression. Since America want to be stupid. And then the thing about it, when we demonstrate this, I will not be against saying to the federal government, all right, y'all didn't want to help us get here, but now we're here. Now that we're here, you're going to have to work with us fairly if you want to make this an easier pathways for us to develop these other relationships. But now you can't come to us demanding shit. You can't demand nothing. You have to come with respect. Who was that I just saw the other day? I think it was the president. It was either the president of Uganda or the president of Kenya. Was it Kenya? I think it was the president of Kenya who was telling that European dude, "Oh, you gonna respect us? You gonna treat us? Y'all disrespectful." I think it was the president, or it might have been the president of Uganda. It's one of them. They're like, "You gonna respect us? We ain't going for your bullshit. You gonna come here and treat us like children." That's where we got to get to. And you know, the thing about it, it's amazing how some of the side effects of things like that affect other people. The younger generation of white people, in seeing something like that, will have a different perspective on black people than their parents. And by the time they come into power, will recognize that, hey, let's work with them instead of how our parents and grandparents worked against them. They may actually smarten up, because younger generations that don't grow up with the bullshit usually don't perpetuate the bullshit. Because you guys know, I care for my black people the most because I have to live in this matter plane universe and deal with race. But y'all know I don't necessarily believe in race. But since we have to deal with it, I'll be damned if we don't fight against it. Because the world shouldn't be this way. Like I said earlier, the only reason we have religion is because people are suffering and people can't explain things. They can't explain things scientifically. We could greatly decrease the amount of suffering on this planet. Like, we can. Do y'all realize that? We can. The Black American actually has more power to change the world than damn near any other group on the planet. Definitely more so than any other oppressed group on the planet. You see, the Chinese would be the non-Caucasian group that has the most power. They would be if their government wasn't so freaking afraid of their people leaving. See, most people don't. When people look at what China is doing in Africa, one of the things that most people don't know is that a Chinese billionaire, I think it starts at, it doesn't start at billionaire. I think it starts at 10 million. But I think if you're a Chinese, and I could be wrong, I'm probably wrong, but it starts around 10 million. Do you know the Chinese government only allows them to spend so much of their money outside of China? This is why you don't see Chinese billionaires moving to America or England or anywhere. They stay in China because they can't spend their money like that outside of China. The ones you see that are millionaires and billionaires that live outside of China, they made their millions and billions when they became citizens of another country. So China hinders their own growth. Yay, my UPS man. I missed him yesterday. Hey man, hey, where you going? Where you going? But the Chinese hinder their own growth simply because they won't allow their billionaires to move, right? And where they won't allow them to spend their money wherever they want to spend their money. If China was allowing that, they can have the biggest impact because they're backed by a big ass nation, a big ass military. But so that the Black American is now the most powerful, has the most potential to change the world than any other group. Because once we do it, it galvanizes the Brazilian Black population, which is much larger than the American Black population. It galvanized the diaspora in Europe and all over the world. It also, because of the mindset of people in other countries thinking America is so great, the Africans are already moving like they rolling, they rolling. But to see that and have that support, they would, man, they would blow this shit up. They would blow it up. We are the spark plug that could change the world. We are. We just have to be willing to do it. Yes, they restrict them from leaving and how much they can take out with right with you. Yeah. China is making a huge mistake by doing that. They're capping their economic growth by doing that. They're capping their economic growth, which is stupid. Because if these Chinese billionaires and millionaires were able to do that, then they would make even more money. They would make even more money. Hold on for a second. Hey, I missed you yesterday.
Oh, dude.
No.
You know this for your CP?
You ain't got my stuff?
No, I got to we brought my shit yesterday.
So what happens when somebody they didn't deliver it yesterday? So it didn't get put on your truck?
So they're showing it's supposed to be delivered yesterday,
right? I had a little ticket.
Oh. So he probably brought it back. And so on Mondays,
yeah.
I had a doctor phone, so Mondays we have different trucks all the time. I don't know why, but it's probably left in that other truck. And they never scan it to my new truck. The truck I usually have from Tuesday to Friday.
So when I'm getting
if they get it and scan it, we'll have it on there tomorrow. But if not, I would call.
So if it's on the other truck, that truck doesn't do this route?
No, it does. So it's kind of like
this ain't making no sense, man.
Yeah, no. The trucks get switched every Monday. The car washers don't put the same truck that you get Tuesday to Friday. Sometimes you'll have whatever truck on Monday, and then Tuesday to Friday you have the same truck.
All right. So where my box at? It's on the other truck.
It's probably.
And the other truck is doing what?
Other truck is a different route. Probably.
But if he got my box and he scans and sees it goes over here, they're not gonna bring it over here.
What they're gonna do is they're gonna put a misload. They're gonna scan it as a misload. And then either they'll get it. Someone will come grab it and then bring it to me. But then again, I also don't have it in the board, so it wasn't technically a scheduled deal.
Gotcha.
But like I said, I can give you the OMS office number. Don't say I gave it to you, so you can have it. Call them and ask them about it.
What's his number?
Because if it's not my board at all, that means they didn't even scan it this morning either.
Y'all messing with my money, man. All right, what's the Now, the way that you brought the next door neighbor stuff to me, is there something I can do so that if I'm not here, y'all can like drop it at the pawn shop or something like that?
Yeah, I know to do that. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Monday person.
So if I'm not here, you can
put a timer on the door?
Yeah, I say leave a sign, just let them know. We should do that in the first place. I try to do that all the time. At least leave it to next door neighbor.
All right. So what's the number?
770-662-3509.
All right.
And just say, hey, I'm not sure how to really word it, but just I'm waiting on a package. It's supposed to come. We're supposed to come last week, right?
Yesterday.
Supposed to come yesterday. Okay.
Supposed to come yesterday, left a sign, but it didn't come today.
Okay, yeah. So it was supposed to come yesterday. I wasn't here, but I'm here today.
And it was
the driver came, and he didn't have it at all on his board.
Okay.
All right. And I'll try to figure it out for you.
All right, man.
All right.
Appreciate you as always.
Okay.
You too.
Oh, what's the name of it? Reed.
Reed. Yep. Messing with my money. Where we left off. I think you were talking about South Africa's Secretary General in the BBC interview. He slammed the U.S. and European was in the Middle East and Africa. It might have been. It might have been the South African um, Secretary General who told them jokers that y'all gonna treat us. You know what? You are absolutely right. It was because I think he brought up because that was the guy who also brought up the fact that when they went to see old Elizabeth when she died, that they put them on buses and shit. So it might have been the South African Secretary General. Restricting. They're having banking and real estate problems, and with their birth rate problem, the government has a lot to deal with, especially after the COVID lockdown. They are what the largest real estate company in the world. Forgot what it's called. Starts with L. I know they were having some problems. I stopped following that story. I don't know if they actually filed bankruptcy or crumbled or not. I don't know if that happened to them. But that's why the yuan can't become like a monetary standard that they was trying to put that together because China got those restrictions on it. But yeah, I mean every country you're gonna have your ups and downs. China gonna easily bounce. They'll have that real estate issue. They'll go through some stuff, but they'll bounce back. They'll bounce back. That's part of the reason why they're so heavily involved in Africa as well. They know where the bread is gonna be buttered in the next 50 years. And it's not like 50 years then it happens. It's progressively growing. You would like to see every African country as states of Africa instead. Yeah, I love our all-around conversation as well. That would be nice. I think that's only going to happen though, as far as the Sub-Saharan African nations. The North African nations, the Arab nations, they're not going to join Africa. They're not going to join a Sub-Saharan African country, then become one country. The East African Federation will be the start of it. Then I think you'll see a West African Federation and then a South African Federation. And you might get a Central, but a lot of the Central African countries are joining. You got Central African countries joining the East, and you'll have some of them joining the West and the South. I think you'll see 3 primary states first, and then maybe one day after that, much later after that, you'll see a unified Southern African state. The only way you'll see all the countries of Africa, it'll have to be all the Southern countries going to war against the Northern African countries, and then they take over that way. I don't think personality-wise, law-wise, they will all be able to get along. And it's the stupid thing that it boils down to religion as to why Africa will more than likely not become one nation. Because the Islamic nations are going to want some variation of Sharia law in place. And that's going to be the problem. You know. But I can definitely see a Sub-Saharan Africa as one nation. I can definitely see that. A little further down the road. I think the super nations, the bigger nation, the sub nations will have to happen first, and then you see the bigger nations. When the East African Federation forms, and then good 10 years of prosperity and growth through that, up to 20 years, that's when you'll see more of the West African nations form together and the South African nations form together. Right. Out of 2 reasons, out of the ability of prosperity and for the necessity of survival. Because once the East African Federation comes together, they will have the largest military in Africa. They'll have the largest military. And their military is supported by, well, they're supported by both Russia and China. But they are able to they buy most of their arms from Russia. So I think it'll happen. Africa becoming 3 great nations, Well, the southern side, it'll happen in our lifetime. I'm 51. It'll happen. I plan on being here for, 100 more years. It'll happen in my lifetime. How did Ukraine treat the African leadership? Did I see how Ukraine treated the African? I did not. I didn't see that. Wasn't it something like I did see something where somebody got mad at some African nations because they supported Russia. They support Russia. I know it was like France and somebody else was trying to. They wanted to put sanctions and boycotts on certain African nations who were in support. I think South Africa was one of the nations because they supported Russia for this whole Ukrainian thing. And South Africa was like, and Russia has supported us. So kick rocks, which is what they have the sovereign right to say. But I didn't see how Ukraine treated them. Let's see. Ukraine told them that they had no power and there was no purpose for them to come expect to beg for food. No purpose for them to come and expect to beg for food. Yeah. I can see that since more African nations are in league with Russia than they are with Ukraine. So I can see that. But at the end of the day, what does it matter? I mean, I know that most African nations buy a lot of their grain, their wheat, from Russia. India has said that I think in 2030 they're going to stop selling their grain, their wheat to anyone outside of India. So that's going to create a serious issue as far as food supply around the world. Though actually, that's going to create around the world. If America, how they pay these farmers not to farm, if they're smart, they'll start gearing up and get American farmers to supply wheat, to grow wheat and grain in larger amounts to be able to take up the slack from India. But I think it's 2030. I don't know. I got an Indian guy. He came in here. We was talking about that about a month or so ago, about a couple of months ago, actually. So that'll be interesting. I mean, they do get a lot of it from Russia. Yeah. Yeah. These world politics are, who's your friend right now kind of thing, and who you think your friend gonna be in the future. And that's kind of like the line that you roll with. That's why we can be such a major player if we take over these southern states. Like, I know Terrence won't come to, nobody want to go to Gary, Indiana, man. It's cold up there. It's cold in Gary. But we take over the South. We take over the South. Do you know what level of exporting we can have if we took over the South as far as food exports? I'm not big on eating meat or eating flesh, period. Let me say flesh, because sometimes I say eating meat, people only think I'm talking about land animals. Flesh in itself. But that like Forrest said, that shrimping business, that shrimping and that prawn business, there's a lot of money. There's a lot we could be shipping out, we can be exporting out. Then to start working with and helping the Jamaicans to take back their country, helping Haiti to grow and become a true country, a true balance. Do you realize that Haiti used to be the Haiti sugarcane crop outperformed the 13 colonies in its totality. Just Haiti. Just the money they made on sugarcane outperformed everything that was produced in the 13 colonies back in the day. To work with Haiti to regain the health of their land, stabilize their government, Haiti could become a world player again. That's the reason. There's a reason why Haiti was the first Caribbean nation allowed into the AU. There's a reason. Haiti has tremendous potential. Tremendous potential. So, and some of these other Caribbean islands, they have tremendous potential. Puerto Rico is, once again, they are telling America either make us a state or let us be our own country. Right? It's messed up. The land in Puerto Rico the most fertile land is owned by the federal government, and they don't allow the Puerto Ricans to grow their own food. They can't, so they have to import most of the fruits and vegetables in Puerto Rico are imported. How in the hell is a tropical area importing fruits that they can grow? It makes no sense. But if if Puerto Rico can get away from America or gain just statehood, change it. It's another country. It's another country that we can back. I never thought it'll be a mass migration back to the South, but I know hundreds of blacks who has left the North. Man, let me tell you, I can sit in my cigar lounge for 12 hours, and other than my business partner, not one other person who comes in and out of these damn doors or who sits in here with us is from the South. They all Northerners. I would have 50 people come through my popcorn shop, and maybe 2 are from the South, and all from the North. All y'all down here. I remember back when we used to just have, they used to have this festival. It was like the New York Day Festival. But so many New Yorkers are down here now that they've broken it up into, this is the Bronx Day, this is Harlem Day, this is Manhattan. Well, they don't have Manhattan Day, but this is, Long Island Day. There's enough people from the different boroughs that you can have a festival with 10,000 people, and they all from that area. The Chicago people, Detroit people, all y'all down here. This plan goes into effect, that I think it's like 13% of black people are from the Northeast, are living in the Northeast right now. And 12% is in the Midwest, or it's reverse. It's like 12% in the Midwest, 13% in the Northeast. That 12 and 13%, a good 10% of those people will want to migrate to the South when this is built. And that's the problem. Y'all sell y'all houses up there for a whole hell of a lot of money. Like this girl that I knew back in 2009, she sold this house for like $500,000. And then she came down here and bought her a $200,000 house, and still had $100,000 left over. I was like, damn, your house must have been like rocking. I did Google Street Maps and looked at that damn house. I was like, that piece of shit. In comparison to Atlanta houses, I was like, that piece of shit sold for $700,000. I was like, man, please. That house in Atlanta would cost you about $90,000. But that's the game. Nefertali, I don't know that language, and the translated thing is not coming up like it does sometimes on Facebook. So I have no idea what you're saying. But we got to do this, people. Y'all have to support this. Y'all will support this. Because if you have any love or care for your people, for people who look like you, if you want to feel safe and secure, if you want to know that the police is, you don't want to have that anxiety every time you see a police officer, if you want to know that your financial security can be secured, that your children's and your grandchildren's financial security can be secured, you want to participate in this program. You want to participate in this bank when it's built. You know, when I come on here and I say this is the link, in order to acquire the license for the bank, I need y'all to dedicate yourselves to it. You waste $10 every day, or at least once a week you waste $10. At least once a month you waste $10. Hey, we need to accumulate, and I need y'all to tell people, right? It's established. Once the bank is established, and we need more than just what it's going to take to get the charter, to get the bank license, because we need the working capital as well as the marketing capital to attract, to get the program set up. Well, the program, we need the working capital to help get the program set up, but also the capital to get the marketing out in such a way that within 6 months we'll have over 1 million people moving their direct deposits to this bank. Once that get that 1 million people with their direct deposits in this bank, it will then give us the fractional banking ability to support the program of ensuring that you can get a house 100% financed, that you can get the credit necessary to increase your credit score so that you have buying power. Of course, you will have to take our financial literacy course in order to access the program, because there's no point. This is why I've always said the worst thing that the United States government can do right now is just to give reparations without any financial literacy program taught beforehand. Because if, let's say, they went out and they gave every Black American whose family has been here for more than 5 generations $1 million, the level of financial literacy in the Black community, 80 to 90% of that money will go right back into the hands of the wealthy Caucasians. 80 to 90%. Some will be able to hold things longer, but eventually they're going to lose it, because some of them will, oh shit, I got $1 million, I'm gonna go buy this $500,000 house. You don't make enough money to pay the freaking utilities and pay the taxes every year for that house, right? You didn't take that into account. Like, this man tried to sell me this house for $700,000 when the housing market was crashing, right before it was crashing, during the housing bubble was going on. And although I was going back up in my money at the time, I did recognize that to heat and cool that house was going to, because this house had 4 air conditioning units. To heat and cool that house was going to run me about a good $700 a month. That wasn't a good deal. The only way I would have bought that house is if my plan was to buy it, because it was worth $700,000. He was going to sell it to me for $5,000 because my sister worked for the builder at the time. To buy it just to turn around and flip it. But I'm glad I didn't, because it was like 6 months after that, that's when the LIBOR changed and flipped, and that damn house went down about $400,000. Hold on. Smoking Thing Cigar Lounge. It is. I'm doing well. Do me a favor. Give me a call back in about what time is it? In about an hour, and let me move a couple of things. Okay. That's fine. All right, no problem. Mike. I forgot to move some money, but they'll get it in about an hour. They have to wait. I don't understand why Africa is relying on fertilizer from Russia and wheat from Ukraine. Make it make sense. Because they hadn't been growing it. They hadn't been producing it. Yeah, Africa can produce damn near anything that they need, but if they haven't been producing it, they haven't been producing it. Think about it like this. Right now, if you had, say, $100,000, you could go to Uganda or you can go to Rwanda and you could start you a chicken farm and grow and sell eggs and some chickens. Because not that they just people haven't been doing it. Just people just haven't been doing it. You can go to and then you got to look at things like in Zimbabwe. 70%, I think it's 76% of their product grown is cigarette tobacco. The reason, and so they're not growing much of anything else because China is buying like 50 to 60% of that tobacco. So of course the people are like, hey, China buying all our tobacco, so we just gonna keep on growing tobacco because it's a great business in Zimbabwe. It's kind of like if you go on any main street and in America, in any small town in America, they all look the same. Hell, you can drive through Atlanta, and if you look at certain buildings and then you go up to Charlotte, you got the same goddamn building. Look exactly the same, right? We duplicate what we see somebody else doing. So since grain hadn't been a big thing that people were growing in Africa, people weren't growing it. Now you'd have to figure out what area of Africa can grow grain, because Africa pretty much has all the ecosystems. Go there and grow it. Now, what area that is might depend on what type of government they got going on there. So we grow grain in the Midwest is where we grow grain. So an area that would grow grain in Africa, then most likely, I love Dr. Google sometimes. You can find damn near anything you want. Where could you grow grain in Africa? Environment. There we go. So you can grow grain in almost any climate. Right now, grain. Trying to find a short answer, not some long ass answer. So it looks like places that you can grow grain. Like I know they grow rice in the Gambia is a big deal there. All right, so wheat production is mostly happens in South Africa, Zambia, Mali, Kenya, Tanzania, Nigeria, and Sudan. Nigeria is heavily populated. You have to go out, out in the countryside, that shit's a lot of people. So so if you went to Tanzania, Zambia, Mali, you can get good land in Tanzania and Sudan. You can get land. But it's just what people just hadn't been doing. Zambia, I think their government, they've been having some problems with their government. South Africa is very heavily populated. I don't know if you're going to be able to get big swaths of land in Zambia, in South Africa. Mali is not that big of a country, but so I would look Kenya. Things in Kenya are more expensive. So probably if you wanted to go to Africa and grow grain, I would look at Zambia and Tanzania and Sudan. And I know Sudan and Tanzania are looking at becoming part of the East African Federation. So those might be the easier places for you to go do it. But they just haven't been doing it in large enough quantities. But yeah, South Africa is one of them. But getting land in South Africa and Kenya and Nigeria are more expensive to live in and build in than some of the other places because they are already more industrialized. Kenya, you still got a good shot at Kenya though. It just with Kenya, you only got about 5 to 7 years. While the getting is good, you got about 5 to 7 years. And after about 7 years, things in Kenya are going to be, when you do a comparison, you're going to say, nah, man, I just go down the street to Rwanda or Uganda and do something because Kenya is costing about the same as it costs in like Georgia and Florida. If you're a northerner, you'd still be like, that's cheap. But if you're from Georgia or Florida, you'd be like, shit, I'm finna go to Mali. I'm finna go to the place of my daddy. That's my daddy's family's from. I'm going to Mali. Buy there. But Nigeria, which is where my mom's family is from, no, costs too much. I went to Nigeria. Yeah, some things were cheaper, but a lot of things were pretty much about the same as you pay here. A lot of things were still the same. And then, but yeah, I mean, you just have to, that's just the way people have been. They seeing what the product that people are making money off of, and they're doing the same thing. And then you go to Botswana, hell, half the land in Botswana is owned by the government as a reserve, and then it's desert. I'm thinking about Texas, Houston. What cities in Georgia is the best to move to? It depends on what you want to do, man, and what kind of money you're coming into, and what kind of money you got, what your talents are, and how you want to live. Like most people come to Atlanta because it's the city, and then they move to the suburban areas of Atlanta. Like you sell your house in Gary, I don't know how much profit you'll have off your house, depending upon what kind of work you do. You want to get the best bang for your buck, you might go like to the outer suburbs, and I say outer suburbs because they're outside of the normal suburbs. You might be in Loganville, Snellville, McDonough, Locust Grove, but it's all really, depends on what you want to do. And then do you have kids? So you're going to want the kids to have, you want to move, you're going to have to look at the education of each different city and county. Yeah, it's not a simple answer. If anybody ever gives you a simple answer to, oh, you should move here, without asking you about who you are, don't trust that fool. Oh, shit. TikTok, you got to tell me when the volume goes off so I can switch microphones. Y'all just jump off. Tell me what let me know. Yeah, you got to let me know when the sound goes off on TikTok. Although I should always look down and see. I have a business degree and I'm CNC mechanic, machinist. I don't know what CNC means, but I guess you're some certified machinist. Are you part of the union? Oh, you live in Fort Wayne. Like the unions are growing here in Atlanta, and you can get on if you can get into it's not hard to get into the unions here. But since you're a machinist, some of the growing cities might be a good place for you, like Atlanta, Macon, Savannah, Columbus, may be good. Now, depending upon how much city life you like, or suburban life, or country life. Computer numerical control. All right. I don't know what all that means, but all right. I know what computer, I know what each word means. And you have a business degree and you're certified. So, I mean, you can pretty much move to any city you want to then. You pretty much should be able to find work with multiple companies. Just know that the pay rate is going to be different than it is up there, but the cost of living is going to be much different. I mean, I have to have some level of the city that I can get to in a timely manner, but that's me. You may want to live out in the country and you might want to be out in Madison where you can get you like 4, 5, 6 acres of land, have you a nice house on it or built on it, and depending upon where you work, how you live your life. But if you got to have a city, then come on to Atlanta. Then you just get your house in the suburbs. Is your job as a work from home job or is it a go into a company job? Yeah, because I can't do the country. I am not a country boy. I may wear this hat, but I am not a country boy. I ain't playing with no animals. Yeah. Come on to Atlanta. And then just get your house in one of the closer suburbs. You got kids? Because having kids will make a big difference as well. Until we take over, you're not going to want your kids to be in an educational system that is subpar, right? But there are plenty of predominantly or 50%. Oh, you got somebody, he grown, so that don't matter. But if you did have kids, there are plenty of communities that are like where I'm at right now, in Stone Mountain. There's one side of Stone Mountain where the education system is not as great. The other side of Stone Mountain is a great education system, but you're looking at about a 40, 60, 40% black. And then, but the educational system is great. Until we build our compounds, until we take over our towns and our cities, you have to, if you got kids, you got to make that adjustment. You got to make that plan. But one thing you can learn about Atlanta, black people will take over a community in a heartbeat. Because where I'm at right now, used to be, when I was growing up, you had to be out of here before sundown. If your ass was over here before sundown, after sundown, you may not make it. But that don't happen anymore. Yeah. I wish they would. But yeah, Atlanta's, we full though, man. We full. Now come on down to, if you want to participate in my program, come on down now. You can go ahead and come now. If not, stay where you at. We full. Until we start the program. And then you can come. Because now you come in so we can take over. Because I could care less about Democrat or Republicans. When it comes to this plan, I don't care about your political siding, and nor do I give a shit about your religion. It's just about us growing this together. How you know it's after 12? Smoking Phoenix Cigar Lounge. I'm doing all right. How you doing? Uh-huh. Yep. No. No, it's not. I haven't done that since the first time I ordered. And I haven't. I mean, I would like to take it if it's on a normal process, but if they're trying to do it where it's a start over, then no, because I don't have checks. I don't write checks. But I thought we cleared that up. That we were just that because I started this account 2 years ago for this one, so there's no reason. Okay, all right, like why Jay? Some of these people, not him, just some of these systems. Maybe I can invest in that lounge of yours. Mm. It's a conversation. It ain't gonna be cheap. I'm past the point where somebody can say, "Hey, man, I got $10,000." So it's gonna start with 6 figures. I just turned down an investment into this lounge. What about 2 weeks ago? Mm-mm. Nope, nope, nope. Got to be. It's gonna start at 6 figures. Because if I can't, if it's not enough money for me to open up another lounge, then there's no reason for me to take any investors. You know what I'm saying? And it has to be open up another lounge the way I want to open up another lounge with a full bar in it. Otherwise, no point in me taking investors. So come on with it, man. You got the kind of money we can roll. Yeah, but we ain't gonna. I don't care about in this plan. The only thing I care about is growing our power base, growing our power base in the world. I wasn't expecting to have this conversation today, but it's good. That those 2 chapters that we did in the Bible today were so goddamn boring. Yeah, nothing. There was no reason for it to be in there, so I didn't know what we were gonna talk about. But it is 1 o'clock. 50. It's cutting it tight. We'll have to look. So let's have a side conversation about that, Terrence. And so I can know what you're looking for, what your expectations would be. And so you can know what my expectations would be. Uh, because I give everybody a fair chance to have a conversation at least of what that would entail, what type of partnership it would be, how many, what level of shares. And so just hit me up on, what is that thing they do? You send the messages on the Facebook thing and send me your information. And I'm glad you said that because actually I got to have a similar conversation with somebody about my popcorn shop. Who we're trying to create this investment deal for my popcorn shop as well. And we can talk about it. And if things can work out, there is a possible avenue with that amount of cash that we can work something out. Only because you're on here. Plus, them other jokers, one of his business partners, I just wasn't going to let him be a part of that. These Abrahamic religious people are fighting over the same story, which are told different and different, and the same characters are given different names. Yeah, they do. That's the sad part about it. That is the sad part about it. And I'm telling you, once we do this program and Black people elevate their financial position and their wealth building and feel safe in their communities, you will see a decrease in religious dependency. There will be a decrease in religious dependency. You'll see these presidents and wealthy people they rarely talk about religion. Politicians do it more so than anybody else. The sports people, entertainment people, they'll do it at their little award shows and all that kind of stuff. But they true life, they're not religiously dependent. They not. I can tell the difference when I'm talking to somebody in here. I can tell where their financial dependency is just based on a spiritual conversation. And generally the ones who are whose income is not as high, or they're just financially struggling, even if they have a higher income, they have more religious dependency. Or if they've been living a life where they've been struggling against racism and sexism and all that sort of thing, they are more religiously dependent. If they suffered more, they are more religiously dependent. And through this process, we will alleviate a lot of that religious dependency. But if they still want to stick with their religion, I could care less. I'm never here to try to convert anybody over or change anybody, anything. The main goal here, as far as this conversation, is to stop being the oppressed, to be self-sustaining, self-manifesting, so that we can come to the table with our own plate, our own utensils, our own drinks, our own butler, and sit at the table with our big ass tomahawk steak and be able to be respected in how things are done in this world. We are going to change the world, plain and simple. Some people don't believe that it can be done. They'll be all right. They'll catch up. But we're going to change the world. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to do it. I didn't want to do it, but I'm going to do it. We're going to change the world. So I'll be having a meeting very soon with the lawyer in order to set up the accounts properly so that we can begin the grassroots funding of the bank. And then once we get that, I already got the board members in agreement to be on it and how it's going to function. So the only thing that's going to be missing is the money, and then to get it done. And then after we get it done, we just keep rolling. And next thing you know, we changing the game. We changing the game. In 5 years, we would look back on this video and be like, how far have we come? Look how far. That joker went from just talking about it to about a very few number of people to look at this shit right here. And just like with anything, once people see it's done, then everybody else start believing it can be done. It's just like nobody thought that you can run. Nobody thought that you can run a mile under 4 minutes until it was done. And then high schoolers start doing it. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're doing. So with that, we're going to get out of here. Tomorrow, I will not be on because I have some dental surgery tomorrow. Got to get 2 wisdom teeth taken out because they make my teeth crooked. So hopefully I'm thinking Thursday, I should be back on Thursday. I should be able to have conversation. I should be able to talk, but I'm not talking at all tomorrow. After I get this done, I'm going home, watching movies all day, studying, reading. And then Thursday, we should be back on. We'll be going definitely the law of rhythm. Depending upon how quickly we go through the law of rhythm, we will then, we might do the law of causation as well. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read the chapters again. Well, I usually read them anyway, but I'm going to definitely read both those chapters, see if we can do rhythm and causation tomorrow. As far as the book is the Kabbalion, that'll be Thursday. Thursday, tomorrow I'm going to read it. Thursday, we'll do it. Hopefully. I'm pretty sure my mouth will be decent. And then we'll continue on from there, guys. Hold on for a second.
Hey, are you D1?
No, I'm D2, but I'll hold hers for her.
Oh, okay, all right. Think I got the door.
Yeah.
How you doing today?
I'm doing all right.
All right.
You can just sit right there.
Okay.
Yeah, she told me she was getting a bunch of stuff in. I told her I'll hold it for her.
Oh, she's a smart lady. Man, you got a nice place here.
Appreciate it.
Wow, I'm taking my shades off. Yeah, buddy.
Thank you.
I get a moment, have to come in here.
Come on, man.
Okay, all right. Like that hat you got, boy, I'm telling you. You got it going on in here.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we just, You know, we smoke cigars and we talk.
Hey, can you bring any beers or anything? Or?
Yeah, we do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Nice. Okay. You'll have to come here and hang out for a minute.
You just have to buy at least one cigar from us.
Yeah.
And then we do a daily deal where if you pick up 4 cigars, your least expensive is on the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Sounds good. I just need to type your name.
There you go. REID.
Reed.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate you taking care of your neighbor, Brother Reed.
That's how we have to do it.
Hey, man, I appreciate that.
And we don't take care of each other, then who's gonna take care of us?
That's so true. God bless you. All right, get a moment, I'll stop on by.
Come on through, man.
And see what kind of good cigar you gonna recommend.
You know, I learned your palate. You'll tell me about your palate, and I'll tell you what to smoke.
All right, Brother Reed.
All right.
Have a good one.
You too. That guy want, man, look. So for my page in and out to legacy business, one of the things I'm working on is getting with the producers of these hats that I keep wearing. And I just got some new ones in too. And I'm going to, not only am I just talking about how people can do this thing, because I've done it before, I'm going to demonstrate it. How you jump into a business, make a certain amount of, make some money for as long as you can, then know when to get out of it, roll your profits over into grabbing another business until you can build something that has legacy. Like I can just say, oh, look, legacy business. I got the cigar lounge. You know, the popcorn shop had for 12 years, now pivoting to a different variation of the popcorn shop, legacy. But I want to show you guys some of the ways I got to that point where this is a business that can be here for my son, which last night he made sure to tell me that that's my shirt a little bit. He made sure to tell me that he don't want the popcorn shop, that he want the cigar lounge again, just to reaffirm that, because one of my daughters also said she wanted this cigar lounge. None of them want the popcorn for some strange reason. Crazy little kids. But I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to use these hats as one of the ways to demonstrate it. To demonstrate how to do that. I know everybody always talking about side hustle, but we get caught up too much into these little get rich quick things. No. It took me 12 years of running a popcorn shop. Well, not 12 years. It took me 10 years of running the popcorn shops to open up this cigar lounge. Part of this popcorn shop's construction development was to fund another business that could last for legacy. All right. Because understanding like popcorn is something that's an impulse buy. You don't have to have it. You can go 6 months without buying another bag of popcorn or gourmet popcorn. But cigar smokers, nah, they gotta have this every week. Yeah, some of them gotta have it every day. So this is something that even during COVID, even during the dot-com burst and the housing burst, people still, hell, I still bought cigars. Right? I cut some other things. Like I cut ice cream out during that time frame because I love ice cream, but I still bought cigars. You understand what I'm saying? So a legacy business is not just something. It's something that you know people are going to consistently do no matter what. They're still going to do it. It's a part of it. It's a necessity of their life. I'm glad that Debbie loves popcorn over there on Facebook, but that's a luxury buy. That's an impulse buy for most people. But when people get involved in cigars, it's a I gotta have it kind of buy. People are always going to need housing. People are always going to need clothing. People are always going to need food. People are always going to need transportation. You know, but some of those businesses are very difficult to get into, or it takes a lot of money for it to start out at a level where it can be here for 50 years. So what do we do in the meantime? Yeah, you can save money, but you can also save, invest into something, make some money, you know, double that money, triple that money, quadruple, 10x that money. And then you find something else that you can 10x or 5x. And then you keep rolling that until you have enough money to be able to build whatever it is that's going to have legacy. And legacy is not always your passion. You do your passion after you've built the legacy. After you build the legacy. My passion is teaching, is doing this, and archaeology. That's my passion. But that ain't going to make me the money I want to make. This is all nice, you know, but this is not making me the money I want to make, and probably won't make me the money I want to make. So we do other legacy business. We do other businesses in order to get there. And when we get there, then you can do your passion, right? You want to paint, go paint. My middle child, she's a great artist. But that art is, and it can happen, true. But I told you got to do some other things until you get to that point where your art can make you, where you can just do your art. You know, now if she gets on with one of these animation companies, because she does graphic illustrations, make sure I say it right, or she'll have a fit, graphic illustrations, then yeah, you go work for Marvel, you go work for Pixar, you go work for one of these other companies, or start your, and then build up your name, and then you can start your own graphic illustration company. But that takes a lot of money to start a graphic illustration company that's going to have sustainability, where you got other people. Marijuana can be a legacy business, because as Terrence just put on there, it could be. It's a great, especially as the world is becoming more acceptable of it. It's great. And one of the things that they're struggling with in that marijuana industry is having a bank that they can use that's not just a state bank. Like in the states where they have, it's legal, initially they couldn't put it in any bank. So they was like, have their own vaults. But then the state banks were able to hold their money. But it can only be held in a state bank in that state. And if that state bank ever decides it wants a federal charter, then those companies had to kick those companies out of their bank, which is difficult, because one of the reasons they're able to get the federal charter is because they got all that money, they got those assets from the dang marijuana companies. So it's like a double-edged sword for some of those state banks. And state just means they're only operating in that state, not that they're owned by the state. So if you're, to be able to house their money, and you got locations, or you got charters in those states, is a great thing. It's a great way to increase and become too big to fail. It's a great way. But that marijuana business is a great one. Can you imagine if Haiti legalized? I don't know if marijuana is legal in Haiti, but if you refertilize the soil in Haiti, and then you are able to grow marijuana in Haiti, you will be producing one of the best crops. I don't know a lot about marijuana, to be honest with you. I don't know a lot, but just from talking to some of these other jokers who do smoke weed, that land would be amazing, according to them. I don't know. I'm not that guy. This is my marijuana cigar. But even in this industry, I got plans for some land in Africa for growing cigar tobacco. Anyway, see, that's what y'all be doing. See, y'all be quiet, and then as soon as I start getting ready to get off, y'all start saying some stuff. But I gotta go. It's 1:20. I got work to do. I got to move some money so I can pay these people, and I got to pay these other people. So y'all have a great day. Remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Because what we want to do with Black people and change the world, that's one of the reasons why I started saying that we have to free ourselves from the oppression, from the financial oppression, so that we can be the greatness that we are, individually and as a people. And then we can affect the rest of the world. So good journey, good vibrations. And like I said, I got my little dental surgery tomorrow. So I will see you guys on Thursday. Even if I'm kind of talking like this, I'll see you guys on Thursday. All right. Might be one of the worst shows I ever do, but I'll see you on Thursday. All right, so y'all have a good no. See, Boondocks try to ask me another question. I'm out. I'm out, Boondocks. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. We're not talking about the Mary Jane.